Hello chess friends and welcome to Zarov's chess channel and welcome back to the Candidates Tournament in 2020-2021. We are now already in the critical moment of this tournament and we are now in the round 10. And the most important match game, I think, was the match game between Jan Nepomniachtchi against Kirill Aleksenko, because Anish Giri only played a draw today, and Fabiano Caruana is still playing against Ding Liren, but I don't think that Fabiano Caruana can win his game against Ding Liren. And before this round, Nepo had a comfortable half-point lead, so it means now, if Nepo wins now this game against Kirill Aleksenko, he will have a comfortable 1-point lead, and that's actually great in this top grandmaster level. It's really great to have a whole point lead, because you can play many draws now. The opponents have to play more aggressive chess, and you can play basically now at least 3 draws and maybe 1 win, and I think Nepo will make it. Nepo will be the next challenger of Magnus Carlsen. So let's check out now the game. It was an incredible game here by both players, by Nepo and Aleksenko. Here Nepo opened with the move c4. We have knight to f6. We have so far the English opening after the move g3. We have e6 going into well, it's almost like a Queen's Gambit decline setup, semi-Slav setup. We're trying to build some kind of fortress here on light squares. What I liked about Nepo's development here, bishop to g2 and d5, that actually Nepo didn't touch any pawns here in the center. He didn't touch the d pawn, he didn't touch the e pawn. It's very important to play very fast with your minor pieces. If you can, don't touch so many pawns in the opening, and I think you see now how great this opening preparation by Nepo was. After move d5, Nepo goes simply knight to f3. We have d takes c4, and still Nepo has the opportunity to recapture the pawn with the move queen to a4, followed with queen takes c4. And let's stop and already evaluate the position. Here is the problem of blacks, here is the problem of whites. Black has this pawn majority on the queen side, so it means black has to push here the pawns in order to make some kind of an activity, use the pawn majority on the queen side. The problem about this potential pawn majority is that you could be vulnerable to some knight to e5 and ideas and liberating the long diagonal for the light square bishop and attacking the rook. On the other hand, the main strength of white is now the pawn center control, so it means now this 2 versus 1 situation in the center. In order to make something happen, you have to play, of course, something like e4 followed with d4, and then you could have a great center control, undermining here the pressure in the center. Black could have some trouble then to develop the minor pieces. So here in the game, Aleksenko plays, of course, on his idea a6, c5, b5 is his main goal, and here Nepo plays simply queen to c2. It was probably part of his opening preparation. Never ever allowed black to gain a tempo against the queen with the move b5, and here Aleksenko plays the move d4. We have knight to c3, developing, of course, the minor piece. We have bishop to e7, castling, and now comes, believe me or not, already the critical moment of the game. Here Nepo plays, of course, the move d4, and the problem now is we have said that the b5 move would be a problem, because then you risk some knight to e5 ideas, but actually b5 is a must move. You see now, because Aleksenko didn't play this move b5, Aleksenko will have now huge trouble in the continuation of the game, because the lack of development is really simply here bad for black. After move d4, let's see now this possible continuation after potential b5 move. Here knight to e5 could happen, but the problem is now black can actually take. Knight takes e5, and here if you, for instance, take out the rook, here comes the problem of white now. C takes d4, and suddenly black is much better. Believe me or not, although down the exchange you see the knight has to retreat, and we can now lock the bishop. The problem now for white is here, I think if you want to get out with your bishop, you have to take out the knight, and then after queen to d5, bishop to b7, black could build a very powerful queen and bishop battery, and even some threatening some checkmate. So in this particular continuation after the move knight to e5, white would be really forced here to play d takes e5, and here after potential maybe knight to d5, knight takes d5, okay, e takes d5. Still black has some worries about this square d5, but it's playable. It's an equal game for both sides. Still you can protect this pawn with your bishop, maybe even try now finally to push this pawns on the queen side. So as we said, after move d4, b5, really a must move. Really wild stuff that it's actually possible here to play the move b5. After move c takes d4, it's not such a good game, because you have liberated now this long diagonal for the bishop without any compensation, and you can maybe now even pause the video and try to see now a good developing move here for black, because I'm not seeing one. It's really wild that already black is in serious trouble to develop the minor pieces. In the continuation of the game here, Kirill Alexenko played the move queen to c7. Nepo didn't respond maybe with the best engine move. He played the move rook to d1. Actually, bishop to f4 is here even a great possibility, because e5 is not a possibility. You get knight to f5, counter-attacking the bishop. So this particular continuation would simply improve the position of the minor pieces of white. So here, after move rook to d1, still it's a great position for Nepo. He gets use of the d file. If you watch now this bishop's activity, both of these bishops are very dangerous. The knights are centralized. What we want to do is move the bishop somewhere and play something like rook to c1 and simply attacking further the queen. The queen is in danger. That's the main issue because of this passive setup. The queen doesn't have good squares. If the queen comes on b6, then we can play bishop to e3, again threatening some discoveries. If you play queen to a5, then even knight to b3 would an opportunity. So the queen and all the other pieces I think don't have good squares to develop them. So here, after move rook to d1, rook to d8 was played, bishop to e3 here by Nepo, knight to b6. Alexenko wants to build some kind of a static and firm setup here around the square d5. In the continuation, Nepo develops, of course, the rook. Look how great this setup of whites is. White pieces are really on the natural squares. The knight is centralized. This knight is on very good square. The rooks are on open files. Bishop's very active. Queen is aiming towards the king. So it's a perfect setup. In the continuation of the game, here e5 was played. If you try knight to c4 to kick away a little bit the bishop, then you risk this idea knight to a4, and it's an immediate bad position here for black. So you cannot do anything here. You would love, of course, to take out this square. This would be a perfect square in order to kick away the bishop, but it's not possible. Here in the game, e5 played by Alexenko. He's trying now to develop somehow the life for bishop. In the continuation of the game, knight to f5 was played by Nepomniachtchi, and now bishop to f5. Maybe bishop to f8 is now something that black has to play, but it comes again with a great idea that I think Nepo has prepared at home. Knight takes g7 is here a great opportunity. Knight takes g7 is actually possible, because if you take out with the king, then queen to b3 will happen, and then you see the queen is in danger. The queen is connected somehow to this knight. Potential bishop to g7 would be even worse, because then you risk this idea, knight to e4. Discover the attack against the queen, and whatever you do, let's see now, queen takes c2. We can, of course, take out first the rook, and here after potential bishop to f8, first we're doing this check, and now we can take out also the queen. The knight is hanging, the bishop is hanging, so it's something that black should immediately resign. So after potential, as we said, knight takes g7, king to g7, still a better position here for white. After move queen to b3, again threatening some discoveries with knight to d5 and similar ideas. So really wild stuff. As we said, because of this b5 move, the problem is, as I said, I cannot see better moves here for black already. A really great opening prep by Nepo. After move knight to f5, bishop to f5, knight to c4 finally, but now bishop to g5. Every piece on the board is active here by Jan Nepomniachtchi. If you try g6, you didn't basically improve your position, because queen to b1 is still an opportunity, again with some ideas of maybe bishop takes f6, knight to d5, then b3. Here still black has some worries with the knight. The knight is pinned to the queen on the c file, so it's already a +4 position here for white. Really wild stuff. So after move bishop to g5, rook to d1, played by Alexenko. He wanted, of course, to undermine the pressure a little bit, because he has lost a little bit the battle on the c and d file. So it's a good idea here to undermine the pressure, because you have seen Nepo's setup. It was simply great, and now Nepo takes with the knight. That's the main issue. That's the main problem. The knight is still pinned. So in the continuation of the game, here Alexenko tried rook to d8. A better idea is simply to play queen to d8. Still, it leads now into a complicated line. After move bishop to f6, here bishop to f6, you cannot take the knight. That's the main issue, because your knight would be hanging also on d1, but at least it would be some kind of a counterplay. But in the continuation of the game, you lose now this pawn. That's something also that worries now black. Still, this knight is very vulnerable to some attacks, so it's not a good continuation. Here, if you try knight to b6, queen to f3 can again solve all of the positional problems of white. So as I said, really after the move knight to d1, queen to d8 maybe slightly better, but after rook to d8 it's simply lost here game for black, because it's really wild. After move bishop to f6 here by NEPO, we have now this continuation, bishop to e4, the normal checkmate threat on h7. It's not a checkmate threat, but if the queen comes now here around the square h7, it's really lost game here for black. You cannot prevent this idea with the move g6 because you lose simply your bishop on f6. In the continuation of the game, Kirill Aleksenko tried a counter attack, which wasn't a bad choice, but you know that NEPO is also a great tactician. When the tactics are all overboard, NEPO sees simply his tactics. Of course, there is this threat of queen to e1, but now NEPO plays the correct move, knight to c3, protects everything, and still this threat remains. In the continuation of the game, here king to f8 was played, and now NEPO played a great move. It's a top engine move, knight to d5, because you're of course vulnerable to some attacks around the square d5. The queen and the rook are protecting the square, but if you take rook takes d5, bishop to d5, queen to d5, then NEPO solved this continuation. Here queen to c8, and of course you lose the knight, and then white is much better, of course, up the exchange. That's what I meant about NEPO's tactics. He sees and he can connect the diagonal to the file, to the rank. He sees all of this tactics all over the board. NEPO is really a great tactician. I would really love to see him, like many players, to play the World Championship against Magnus Carlsen. So I wouldn't mind if it would be against Fabiano Caruana. I wouldn't mind if it would be Anish Giri. But in my opinion, NEPO is the best tactician of them. So I would love to see really a great tactical battle between NEPO and Magnus Carlsen. After move knight to d5, you see here Kirill Aleksenko tried to fix the knight on c4, but it's simply too late. We have now queen to h7. Here rook takes d5, because there was this threat simply checkmate here on h8. This square is covered, so here Kirill Aleksenko found again some kind of a tactic, but of course NEPO saw everything. Here it's a double attack, but now after rook takes c4, bishop to c4, here NEPO plays e4, which wasn't the best of moves. Bishop to c4 is not an option, of course. Queen to c1 will happen, and then you lose the bishop. So here after move the b takes c4, in the best continuation here for white is simply to go queen to h8 and then go queen to h1, but still it's a winning position even after the move e4. What NEPO is trying to do, of course, is fixing his bishop around the square d5, because if the bishop is loose on the board, then you risk always this double threats, maybe check and lose the bishop, as we saw after potential bishop to c4. Now the bishop is fixed, and still you cannot prevent this idea of queen to h8. Even if you try g6, then of course you get checkmated on f7. So queen to h8 finally. Now the queen sneaks in. NEPO simply takes out this pawn, queen to b5, and now queen to c7, queen to d7, and after move queen to c5. In this position, Kirill Aleksenko resigned. You cannot go of course on a light square, but you could maybe try king to d8, but now I think queen to f8, maybe again queen to c5. Let's see, queen to c5, queen to d8. I think the easiest way here to win this game is to play simply queen to b6 and take away this pawn and going into a favorable endgame, because the problem for black is here that you cannot do perpetuals. The king can hide on g2 and you cannot create checks. On the other hand, black's king is much more endangered, and with the pass pawn situation here on the a file, black is simply lost. So great game by NEPO. Great opening prep. I think you see when NEPO gets his really nice attacking setup, he's really great. He's a great tactician, great attacker. He's now deserved, I think, on the first place, because in the first part of the candidates in 2020 we played outstanding chess, lost only the game against Maxim Vachilagrov. Maxim is not playing the best chess now in the second part of the candidates, but still NEPO is not losing any games, and he won now this game and has now every right to be confident, because he can be the next World Championship challenger against Magnus Carlsen. So, okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. Really brilliant attack by NEPO. We have seen also this problems. b5 was actually a great opportunity for black. Black missed the move and got punished because of his passive play. Okay, if you want to see more great games from the past, check out my best chess games of all time series. Here's also the link with some great games from some other players. And if you want to see maybe the engines battling it out in their best chess games, check out my commented chess games played by computer series. Here's also the link. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and chats is the best, of course.